Greetings once again, denizens of the interwebs. This is Jacob K. Baker for Atomic Stick Figure Productions, and welcome back to Tokusatsu Smoke Break. Today I want to discuss a character that's very near and dear to me, and that is the multiple characters, or rather multiple iterations of the same character. Grifforzer from Sentai Zyuranger, Goldar from Power Rangers, and Goldar from Power Rangers. Now, when I grew up in the early 90s, like every kid, I watched Power Rangers, and the thing that got me into Power Rangers was the character Goldar. I just loved his design so much that I just stuck around to see if he would return for each recurring episode. And then I saw Sentai Zyuranger and fell in love with the character Grifforzer even more. Now, what makes Grifforzer so cool is, well, not only his character, but also what he is. See, Grifforzer is a hybrid of a manticore and a griffin, thus the name Grifforzer. Now, in the series, for the most part, he's there's not really a lot of personality given, because he does not talk for a good chunk of the series. But with the introduction of his wife, Lami, yes, Grifforzer is married, and Lami is Scorpina in the US version, he was given the ability to talk. And, just something about that aspect of, there's actually a lot of character here, where we actually have a villain who actually is married, and at the end of the series actually has a family, because it ends with him actually having a child, or them having a child. It'd be weird if he just did it. But there's actually a parallel I'm going to make later that would actually make that more apropos, but anyway. Most of the generals in the Sentai shows end up dying off at the end of the show because they are the main enemy of the Red Ranger. Grifforzer broke that mold and actually survived. Now, Goldar started off being much like Grifforzer, where he was the general and the leader of the putty army. But as the series progressed, it was about the introduction of Rito Revolto that Goldar just became a bumbling buffoon for the next few seasons. And I did not care for that character shift, because he started off as this really cool, menacing character and then just became an idiot. And then he would appear sporadically for a couple of seasons, and then he wouldn't even appear after Power Rangers in Space. Now, Goldar, as I said, Grifforzer is a Manticore Griffin. That's a cool concept. Now, when they tried to give a concept as to what he was in Power Rangers, they actually just made him a reference to the Wizard of Oz and claimed that he was a flying monkey. Clever. Not as creative as a Manticore Griffin, but it was still pretty clever. Even though he looks nothing like an ape. He still looks like a big cat. Whatever. Now, a lost concept that was actually really, really cool, and I wish they would have gone with, was after the end of Season 1, you could tell that Goldar was getting fed up with Rita. And something that Saban had planned to do, but then quickly changed, was that Goldar was actually supposed to overthrow Rita and become the main villain of the show. And I wish they would have done that so badly, because he could have potentially retained his bad guy status and still kept his menace and what made him cool. But alas, that was changed. In the 2017 film, this shows the lack of creativity that Hollywood has nowadays. We had a character who, in the original version, Manticore Griffin, US version, Flying Monkey. Okay, that's still kind of cool. In the new movie, he was simply just a golden statue with wings. He had no personality. There was nothing there that gave him any kind of a persona. His design was profoundly lackluster. He looked like something that should have been in a dungeon crawler. And he was essentially just there to function as Rita's personal Megazord. And it was just profoundly underwhelming. And my feelings toward this iteration of the character is how people view, or how Dragon Ball fans view what they did to Piccolo in Dragon Ball Evolution. See, that was the comparison. Yeah. Anyway, um, so I love Grifforzer and Goldar, despite how lame he became later. But one of the advantages that Goldar does have over Grifforzer is that at least he had a lot more to do with the show. I mean, even in the Japanese version, the only thing done with the character later was a few years ago they did this movie that was this team up of the different Sentai teams, and one of the main villains was Neo Grifforzer, which was actually, if I remember correctly, it was actually Daisaton reincarnated, but the form he had chosen was Grifforzer, because Grifforzer was such a badass character. So, it's like, even to this day, the villains still acknowledge just how awesome Grifforzer is. So, that's kind of all I got to say on the subject. So, I will be doing more of these comparison videos, most of them focused on Power Rangers. It's kind of a theme. But until the next video, I bid you guys adieu, and I hope that you have a blessed evening.